We have a little road runner running around inside our yard now that came up here. I think she's got a nest around here somewhere. I think she got herself inside our fenced-in dog area and can't figure out how to get out right now. Maybe I'll go down and open up the gate for her. She's a cute little thing. I think she's got a nest over in that area there. She keeps, you know, scouting around, and she'll go in there for a while, and then she'll come back out. I think I've seen her here once before, about 20 years ago. Not her, but one like her. She finally went out the gate. Now I don't know where she came from. She just showed up here. Well, hello again. I've been working on the old brake system that I said I would be doing. I went ahead and got our booster back in. All we have to do now is hook up our master cylinder, and you know, of course, underneath the dash, there's a, boy, I tell you, it's like no room under there. I need to get with Nick from Vintage Thunderbird Repair and ask him a question about that stoplight switch underneath the dash that connects to the brake rod. That thing is pretty complicated, but if you don't get it in the right exact position, it's not going to work well and it won't last long. So I need to get together with him. As soon as I shut off this segment of the video, I'll make him a video and ask him what he thinks. But anyway, it went in pretty easy. There wasn't much of a problem at all there. I was very happy about that. It can be complicated, but it wasn't, fortunately for me. I've decided that in order to fasten the brake line, this copper brake line over here, it's nickel copper is what it is. In order to fasten this to the firewall and in the various places that it needs to be, instead of using the old-fashioned metal kind that come down with kind of a half moon at the bottom that goes around, you know, there, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going downtown to pick up, if I can find them, I'm going to use these instead, only 5/16 in size. These were the ones I used for the gas line. They worked real well, and I can use the same bolts that hold, you know, it's sort of like this, only it's got a half moon at the bottom instead of this. This is for putting the gas line and the brake line together on the side of the inner fender. But I like these because they have that rubber cushion, and they're pretty solid little babies there. I like that. So if I can find them that'll go around there at 5/16. Is it 5/16? I think it's 3/16. Let me look here. I don't even know, for crying out loud. 3/16. Yep, I'll need 3/16, and it's pretty small little clips. I don't want to order them on eBay, but I think I saw them downtown. We'll see how that goes. I like that much better. They're cushioned. They got rubber in the middle. I like that. One of our good subscribers, he wanted to know about how I have the car jacked up. I had mentioned that it's jacked up and it's supported in 5 different places. Whenever I get underneath there, you know, I'm not worried about it coming down at all. But he wanted to, you know, I've covered it 3 or 4 times in previous videos, and this is one of the situations where a person comes in, you know, in the center or toward the end of a series and asks questions about things that have already happened, you know, several times in the past. But that's just part of the deal. It's best to start from the beginning and go all the way through and watch all the videos, and all your questions are normally answered. However, I'm going to do it anyway. I told him I would. It's held up with wooden blocks on one side here. That's one. And then I have the same thing over here with concrete and wood holding it up there. And then I've got a couple of jack stands down here, big red jack stands, one on each side holding it up in the front. That's 4. And then I use this black jack here. It's a 3-ton jack. If I'm underneath this side of the car, like I was last time in the last video, working on this set of brakes and putting the rotor on, all that other jazz, then this thing here is jacked up all the way until it touches the section. I got it all the way in, as you can see right here. That's the 5th spot. So I am not concerned about this car going anywhere. Also, in addition to that, I have a couple of 2x4s blocking up the back wheels. One of these days I got to break down and get actual chocks, but those are nice and tight. Bang them in with a hammer. One there and one over here. Okay, so 2 in the rear and 5 other places, not a problem. It's not going to fall on me. And besides, I don't get that far under it, that's that big of a deal. And that's a good way to jack, you know, at least 3 to 4 different places you should jack up a car that's this heavy. And if your car's a lot lighter, it's not that big a deal. But even then, you got to be careful. You don't want to be underneath there with teetery kind of stuff. You have to have redundancy, it's called. Redundant support. If you don't, you're taking your life in your hands. I've already told people early on in the video series that my niece's husband, who was an Eastern Airlines mechanic, got under his truck one day, the jack slipped, his pickup truck fell on him, and she came home from work and it was too late. He had already died. So, you know, there was an experienced mechanic who did that. So if you don't know what you're doing, best thing to do is just stay out from under the cars completely. You know, take up knitting or something. But you can't be fearful to the point that, you know, you don't want to do any work underneath the car at all. That's crazy. I mean, you got mufflers to work on, you got brakes to work on, you've got shocks to put in, and you've got linkage in the front to put in, all sorts of things. And, you know, in this case, I had leaf springs to put in, I had a gas tank put in. You know, you're going to have to get under the car. One person said you don't never get under the car, period, no matter what. That's 100% wrong. 100% wrong. You just got to do it if you're going to work on a car. But you got to support it. You got to be safe. Safety is always paramount. You know, even if you were to survive a fall of a car because you didn't take the time to do it right, even if you were to survive that, you'd probably be all messed up. You know, hips broken, head squashed, who knows? You got to be careful. So, and then there was another one of our subscribers. He mentioned he didn't anticipate me taking this much time or this much money to work on this, you know, to get this T-Bird going. Well, why not? It's a hobby car, guys. You know, I told you all from the beginning, and I'll mention it again. If the car never runs again, I never get to drive it, the fun I'm having getting it there is worth every bit of money I'm spending. Most of the money I've spent has not been on parts. It's been on tools and things that I've needed, okay? And for instance, this new air compressor I had to buy, okay? And I had this little one, but it wasn't quite hacking the program. But we have a lot of other tools that I bought that I did not have. Power tools, air tools. And it was kind of fun spending my money on that, too. I mean, what else? I mean, at my age, I can spend money on me. Not a problem. You know, if you don't have the money, don't buy a car and try to fix it up, okay? I also mentioned that in a previous video. You know, if you don't have the money for this sort of thing, spend the money on food, okay? Take care of the family first. I'm to the point now where I have no family. It's just the wife and I, and if we blow $100 on this or $100 on that, it's not a problem, okay? We're not wealthy, but I don't worry about $100 anymore, because I'll tell you what, you and I both know $100 doesn't go very far. $100 more years ago was a lot of money. It's not much anymore. It really isn't. All right, let's see if we can't take our air conditioning reservoir and get it mounted up underneath the fender right down in here. I got this screwdriver. There's 2 holes down there. It mounts in there vertically. It's really a stupid place to put it, really. It mounts in there vertically, like so, and the bolts come through the fender from the outside, just like you see that screwdriver sticking through there. And the vacuum line will ultimately be connected to the bottom. You know, that has got to be and trying to get, I can't even show you down there, because you got to go up underneath the bumper, worm your way up through the sheet metal, and find the holes where these 2 bolts go through. It was really stupid. That was a dumb thing to do. Unless there's some engineering marvelous idea that I don't know about. I don't know, maybe it needs to stay cool. I can't figure that one out. But I did see a fella on YouTube, I think it was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. He had his mounted over here. He drilled new holes and mounted that baby like so. Now, I thought that was a really good idea. He just mounted it right like that. And they just drilled 2 new holes in the fender. I thought that was a good idea. You know, it clears the battery. And or you can even put it, just seemed to me it cleared the battery. Maybe it was over here. I can't exactly remember, but it seems to me it was right there. But once you get that thing in there all the way, it would clear the battery box where you can go ahead and put your battery in. Now, I'm going to go ahead and try to get it up in there. I think it's more of a 2-man job than a 1-man. You know, one guy sitting here, okay, a little bit up, a little bit to the left. You know, he sees the holes lining up with the studs, but I don't know. I'm going to give it a try. I'm by myself. If I don't get it, I don't get it. I don't care. We'll figure out something. Well, there we go. One little issue we no longer have to deal with. That tank is up in there. Boy, I'll tell you what, that was a real problem. Because you can't see those two holes from down underneath the bumper. They, you know, there's a bend in the metal that goes out and down. And, of course, these holes have to be on the top side of the bend. And you can feel them with your fingers, but trying to get those things to line up, I was about to give up. For the day, anyway. I don't ever give up. But I was about to give up, and then finally, I got another one of my brilliant ideas. It was the last ditch effort, and after, if it didn't work, I was going to go in the house and get some coffee. I took a string, fished it all the way down through one of these holes. I think it was the one on the left, yeah. All the way down until it came down, and then I pulled the canister back down to the floor, tied this around one of the studs, that one on the left, and then fished it slowly and easily up through, and then the last few inches, took the string, pulled it up all the way, and it got this to where I could get maybe 2 threads with the nut on. And then once I was able to do that, I kind of bent it toward the front of the car, pushed it with my finger, and that brought the other one through where I could get 2 threads on it, and once I did that, it was good to go. The hardest part of the whole thing was actually cutting that string off. Because the string was under the nut and on the other side of the metal. Then, you know, it was back in. Most guys would have just cut it off and said let it hang on the inside. I couldn't do that. But anyway, she's now back up. She's tight. No more messing with that baby. Now today is Tuesday, and I'm expecting a part in on Thursday. So now that we've got our booster in, which is real, that was the big chore right there, and it's still not complete under the dash. I have one more question I got to ask Nick, but I've decided to go ahead and do a few little things, you know, like go ahead and run the vacuum line from the side of the carburetor, like, you know, flared an end and put it in there, brought it out to a new piece of vacuum hose, and then ran it down here to the old. That's the old vacuum advance. I want to get rid of that thing and put a new, more modern one in there. And I'll do that after the car is running again. Right now, it'll work. I'll tell you what, let's take a little break from the front end and the motor and all that crap up there and go to the rear of the car. And let's do this, do something different here. And you see these airflow vent things? I can't remember what the name of them are. I'll have to look in the shop manual, but the air would flow from the inside of the car. If you're, you know, back in the day, they smoked a lot right in the cars and everything, no problem. And, you know, it would put fresh air right out into the bottom of the car from the inside, the interior. So, but these are just rubber tubes is all they are. And they deteriorated over time, as you can see. You gotta get that crap out of there. They're just bolted in. They're bolted in on the bottom, and they're held in with a clamp. Get out of there, you. And they're held in with a clamp up here at the top. See? So let's see if I can't get that off of there. Well, the small screws are out. There's only 4 of them that holds it in, and this plate here is stuck. I don't know if it's stuck from glue underneath it, some kind of a sealer. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take this old nasty chisel that I have laying around. I keep it sharp all the time for just such an occasion. And we'll go ahead and give a few taps on the end with my ball peen hammer. And we'll go ahead and get that baby loose and get it off of there. Piece of cake, piece of cake. There's this sealing compound that was running along here, just popped right out just by my hand. And all this stuff was loose. I'm going to have to vacuum that out. Give it a good scrub and clean and sand it down and prime it, and you know, it's the same old, same old. And then once we get it all primed and painted and everything, we'll go ahead and replace it with these nice brand new ones. Pretty cool, huh? I'm not sure which end goes where. I think this, yeah, this is the end with the screws on it, okay? So this will go in here like this. We'll have nice new black ones. These are reproduction, by the way. My son bought me those last Christmas. he happened to know, or I think it was last Christmas, maybe the Christmas before, he happened to notice the condition they were in. He said, hey, that'd be a good present for Dad for his Thunderbird. I appreciated it too, I really did. Well, I may be sorry I even took these apart. Look at the rust on that thing. The edge is all rusty. Going to take a lot of wire brushing and an electric drill. I'm going to have to work on that for quite a while. Then the old rust reformer treatment, that Permatex, is going to have to go to work. I'll probably have to soak that for a couple of days, trying to get all that rust off there. It's going to take a lot of work. Cleaning it up and that sort of thing is not a problem, you know, down in here, all this loose crap. But boy, I did not expect this thing to be rusty, especially since it was surrounded by rubber. The other side is just as bad, and I think what caused all the rust was on the bottom of these things. There's, you know, where the air comes in and goes out, and I guess even moisture. They have this thing here, but it just all fell apart. Just allowed moisture to get all the way up through, all the way to the top up there, and rust them out. Oh well, we'll be coming back to it. Well, remember that trunk I started when we first, the series first kicked off? How I cleaned it and painted it and everything? Doesn't quite look like that anymore. I think it'll just need a good scrubbing is all, a good wash down, hopefully. And I've got a couple of cans of that paint left. If I need to, Wimbledon white, if I need to, I'll just spray, touch up here, there, and wherever. It'll look good when we get done. Before we get out of the trunk completely, let's go ahead and take a look at these things that were holding the bottom of that rubber vent pipe down. Boy, they are, that's some nasty looking stuff, isn't it? I'm going to have to strip all. They're salvageable. They're good and solid. They're not bending from rust or anything, but some of the rust is going to be removed, and they will be thinner than they were when they started, I'll guarantee you that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take a good look at these. I hope I can make these things look halfway decent when I'm done. I went ahead and contacted Nick of Vintage Thunderbird Repair, and he was gracious enough to answer all my questions, sending me pictures. I mean, the guy couldn't, you know, you just can't ask for any more. He's a good fella. He didn't have to do that, but he did. And I bugged him like 3 times. He sent me 3 different pictures, 3 different sets of pictures, and I promised I wouldn't bug him again, and I'm not going to bug him again, not for quite a while. So Nick, thanks a lot. For those, you know, he still, in my mind, needs more YouTube subscribers. I think when I first mentioned him, he only had like 97 subscribers. He's up to 200 and some now. We need to get more subscribers for Vintage Thunderbird Repair. This guy has been in the Thunderbird repair business for 30-some years. He knows what he's talking about. Those of you who own Thunderbirds or are expecting to buy Thunderbirds or just want to know about Thunderbirds, go to his channel and subscribe. He does a great job. He's working on a convertible right now. Fantastic car. I've been hesitating to ask him, would he like to trade the Thunderbird for my car? I'll take his just like it is. Okay? But I think it's a customer's car. He won't do that. Well, thanks, Nick. I appreciate your help on this. This is now officially in 100% from here all the way up underneath the firewall. I'll tell you what, while we're still waiting for the parts to come in, let's go ahead and do one more little piddly thing. I got to remove this seat belt. You can see our floorboard has a hole there. There are some holes over here in the corner, down in that area right there. And there's one up there by the gas pedal. You can see that little bit of light coming through it. See it? A little speck of light. Anyway, it's probably going to be a few more by the time this back here looks pretty solid. Up here, I don't know why, but the other side, my God, I can look right down and see the concrete. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and remove this seat belt on both sides. I got to get it out of there so I can start removing rust here in the near future. And it's kind of interesting. I have never installed nor removed a seat belt in my entire life. Can you believe that? Never have had the need to do it. So what we're going to do, I think, is there's a big old bolt here. And I guess this big old bolt right here has to come out. It's got a hex head on it, so that means it bolts in. And then let me get down here a little bit where we can see better. Yeah, I'm going to have to wire brush that. I've got my little wire brush out here. I'm going to wire brush it as much as I can with this little wire brush and get down in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and soak it in WD-40 all the way around real good. I want to soak that really good. And I'll probably do the same thing over there, that silver one. Then we'll just take a big ratchet with a socket and slowly take it out. I don't want to... This thing is obviously screwed into something welded in here, and if that thing starts spinning, there's maybe a nut on the inside of this rocker panel area. And if that nut starts spinning around and around to where I can't get this thing out, I am going to have bigger problems than I really do want. Now let's see what I can do right now. Well, lucky me, both seat belts came out. Both sides of the seat belt came out. Good to go. And here's the other piece right here. The question is, do I hang on to these bolts or not? Like I said, I've never replaced a seat belt before. It would seem to me that new seat belts would come with new bolts. But just to be on the safe side, I better keep these. The washers are shot, rusted to pieces. I'll just chunk them. They're pretty thick. Those babies are really thick washers. But if I need them, I'll get them. And these look to be in pretty good shape if I have to salvage them. Not much of the bolt actually was in there, about that much right there. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, you know, it's about time to finish this video. Let's do one more thing and we'll call it quits. Well, now that we have the brake booster installed, you know, under the hood, and all the stuff hooked up underneath the dash. I said underneath the firewall in the last segment, but I meant up under the dash. Everything's hooked up right, thanks to Nick. And we've got to deal with the master cylinder next. Now this master cylinder I bought, oh gosh, I think it was one of the first things I bought early in the series. It's been sitting in a box just waiting for the day to put it on. It is a single master cylinder. Everybody's always carping and harping about going with a dual master cylinder. I gotta tell you guys, all the cars I've driven many cars over the years, and trucks that had single master cylinders and never once had a failure. Never once had a failure. But, you know, are the new dual master cylinders safer? Yeah, probably, you know. Dual master cylinder means you got two different reservoirs. One reservoir going to the rear wheels, one reservoir going to the front wheels. If the front wheel reservoir goes dry or the lines break and the fluid runs out, you've still got the rear reservoir supplying brake power to the rear wheels. So independently operated brakes is what they are from two separate master cylinder reservoirs. So, but I bought this early on, and I was going to go ahead and get it in there one of these days. But then, my buddy Brendan pops up once again with the same subject about this master cylinder. He said, why would you want to, I told him, I said, look, I'll go ahead and install a dual master cylinder later. I don't want to spend the money on it right now. Let's just go ahead and get this on, and then later on I can switch it over. And then he comes up with this crazy stuff called logic. Every time he comes up with logic, it costs me money. That's okay. So, Brandon, just to show that I just love the guy. He's fantastic. He's finally, just to keep him quiet, I guess, we now have a dual master cylinder that I have purchased. And we're going to look at this on the next video. I wanted to get the brake lines installed and get the master cylinder on in this video. It just didn't happen. So blame Brendan. Don't blame me. This is a dual master cylinder. Under here is one reservoir. Under here is one reservoir. One is larger than the other. And this is the rear, of course, where the plunger is. And we have two outlets right here, and you can see that one is larger than the other. Now I'm going to have to go down and get a fitting for this one, which is different than the fitting for this one. The fitting for this one would fit this size right here that I have in this master cylinder. This would go into here like so. The other one's going to take a larger fitting, so I'm going to have to go downtown and pick one up. I bought this from Rock Auto. It came in record time. Let's hope it works, because, you know, from what I understand, Rock Auto is not so hot. If you get something from them and it doesn't work, they're not so hot on the exchange side of the house. At least that's what people say, which means the way I interpret that is very poor customer service. But I've never had a problem with Rock Auto. Everything's worked fine, so we'll see, you know. That's it for now. Next time we'll bleed this baby. We'll bleed, because there is air down in this. The plunger's in here. We're going to have to bleed the air out of it. I'll show you just two different ways to do that. I'll show you them both. And then we'll fill this thing up with fluid. And then we'll go ahead and hook it on to the booster. And we'll leave the plugs in here. I'm going to they sent these little plugs that came with it. I was kind of surprised they didn't send tubes, but I think I have tubes. They go from here to there, which involves the bleeding of the master cylinder, which I'll show you next time. But anyway, that's it for now. Be prepared. We're going to spend probably a little bit of time on this next time. It's either going to be a lot of time or it's going to be no time and be a very short video next time. I have no idea. We'll just have to wait and see. So I appreciate you being here one more time. By the way, I also had to have a T where the lines come in, the lines go out. You know, the lines come in, the lines go out. Well, I already had that for this one here. So I don't need to buy another one. Unless there is another one that I saw for sale. It looks just like this, but it has a bracket that comes out and goes up, enabling you to mount this thing on the fender, which gives it nice stability instead of just letting it hang down there being connected with the lines, the brake lines. I don't know. I'll go over all that, like I said, next time. So until then, this is John.